What if you saw yourself the way that everybody else sees you? I was thinking about this because I have had so many conversations lately with my clients. A lot of them are executive leaders who are already really successful in their careers, who have already achieved things that they've wanted to achieve, and yet they have this voice telling them they're still not good enough. And I honestly see this with men, I see this with women. I do think women tend to second guess themselves a little bit more, or maybe they talk about it a little bit more than men, because I work with business owners who are male and female. I work with men and women, executives and in the workplace. And honestly, when you get someone one-on-one and we start doing one-on-one coaching of what's getting in the way of them achieving their goals or their next level of success, it doesn't matter who you are. Everybody has some version of that. For some people, it's stronger. And, we all have it. I have it myself. But what I really can see from my lens when we start to talk to people is how much that voice is impacting them really going all in on their goals. And it's also really impacting how they're showing up for other people. So I was recently talking to one of my leadership clients, and one of the things that I do with some of my clients is we do like 360 feedback, particularly with executives or leaders, sometimes with business owners as well. But we do 360 feedback where we're getting feedback from their leaders, from their peers, and then oftentimes also from people on their team. And I'll get the results of these. We keep them anonymous. So I'll get the results of these and see some themes. And also the leader themselves does a self-assessment. So they're scoring them on a couple different areas, and then there's also open-ended questions. And more often than not, the thing that I see is pop out as themes is leaders and people rating themselves a lot tougher than other people rating them. And in some cases, a really big discrepancy. So when I'm working with leaders, one of the things that I look at is where do we see themes? Where do we see major discrepancies, right? So we want to make sure that we have this level of self-awareness of how we're showing up. And of course, if you're rating yourself 10 on everything and your peers and leader and people reporting to you are giving you like a 3, that's an issue, right? But also, it can be an issue when you're giving yourself like a 4 or a 5 and everybody else sees you as a 9 or a 10. And it's great because clearly you're showing up that way. So, I think maybe that's better than us seeing ourselves way better than what we are. But long term, this really has an impact because eventually you're going to create the reality that you believe is true for yourself. I'm going to say that again. Eventually, you're going to create the reality that you believe is true for yourself, meaning at some point, if you are constantly second guessing yourself or questioning yourself or worrying if you're good enough, if you're smart enough, if you're creative enough, if you're strategic enough, if you communicate well enough, eventually, that's going to catch up to you in the sense that you're not going to be able to keep growing. You're not going to keep getting those higher level opportunities. You're not going to keep putting your hand in the ring to try new things if you constantly are berating yourself, essentially. And so I was talking to one of my clients who rated herself much lower than everybody else rated her. And of course, we always talk about opportunities, right? We talk about strengths we have, and we talk about opportunities. And at the same time, we're talking about what's the impact for you to see yourself in this light. And also we kind of dove into where is this coming from. One of the areas that she really wanted to work on was her communication and being more clear, especially with people above her. She said, when it's her peers or her team, she's really confident. But when it comes to having to present or things like that to upper management, like even above her current leadership level, she would get really flustered and frustrated. Well, that can really impact her because if she keeps, wanting to grow in her career and in her development, and she is really lacking that confidence and not seeing herself through this confident light that other people are seeing her through, she's not going to put herself out there. She's not going to ask for those bigger opportunities. She's not going to put herself in those rooms. And so I want to challenge you to think about, what if you started to see yourself the way that others see you in all of your amazingness, right? Like I always say, like, put up a shield for the people who have like negative things to say that you like, I'm not going to take that on. And again, on the other hand, we don't want to be oblivious to or really unaware of things that we can work on, right? This is not saying like, oh, you're amazing at everything, you don't need anything. However, usually that's not the case, especially if you're listening to this podcast, because I know that my listeners, they are go-getters. You are go-getters. You're high achievers. You want to get better. You listen to podcasts. You read the books, right? So I know that you're not in the category of, oh, I think I'm amazing at everything. You're in the category of you are already doing amazing. Now, what if we add on this layer of this confidence and this mindset that you've got this and that you see yourself through the light that so many other people see you through, which is that you're already doing an amazing job, and to believe in that and trust in that and have the confidence in that and use that in the areas that you know you have opportunities, right? So instead of beating yourself up around it, just be like, yeah, I got to work on that, and notice the shift. And that's what I love when I start to work with clients on is, hey, this is an awareness tool. Like, what we can show you is this is where you're rating yourself, this is where other people are rating you, where are the themes, where are the opportunities, and also where do you have an opportunity to start to see yourself in the way that they see you. Because how would you show up differently? What would you do differently? What kind of questions would you ask? Would you think, how would you think maybe more creatively or outside the box? And one of my clients recently, I can't remember if I shared this on the podcast before, one of the things he's really working on is his business acumen, and he's working on thinking of solutions and looking at problems more creatively. And he put up a little sticky note that says, sometimes I say like, think outside the box. He put up a sticky note that said, think like there is no box. Oh, and I just love that. And I asked him, like, how was that helping you show up differently to problems? And he had all these different things that he was doing as a result of opening that up. And instead of telling himself, I'm not creative, he's literally putting on this new lens of, what if I were to think like there's no box, like there's unlimited things, sometimes even the most off the wall this idea is that it's like, oh, well, what if we did that? And so he started to really shift how he saw himself. And now he's suggesting all of these other ways of thinking of things. And so I want to challenge you. What would it be like if you started to see yourself through this new lens, and what could be possible for you? And where do you have opportunities to maybe actually like wipe off your glasses that might be like a little grayed and go, I'm horrible at this thing, to be like, actually, you know what? I'm not bad at it. Like, I want to get better at it, but I'm already pretty good. Because beating yourself up and telling yourself you're not good enough is only going to get you so far, right? Some people say like, oh, I operate really well under stress, or like pushing myself and being hard on myself. And yes, but eventually that's going to lead to burnout. Eventually that's going to lead to you just feeling exhausted. And there's a better way. There's a better way to do it. So I want to challenge you to start to see yourself through that other lens. And if you get positive feedback from somebody, take it, right? Just take it in for a minute. And how can you use that to just keep showing up? And remember that it really does start with you. Other people can give you this feedback and this praise and these compliments, but you have to believe it and you have to show up from that place, because ultimately it all starts with you.